January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now. America's Voice Live.
And welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber.
The pulse of the people.
We need somebody that's going to hear the people's voice.
The truth the mainstream won't touch.
This guy is, by definition, a globalist.
And the stories that matter.
Rav's own Ben Berquam.
Right up over this hill. We got armed cartel. I see him.
Live.
Breaking news right now here on Real America's Voice.
Unfiltered.
These people are domestic terrorists.
And unapologetic.
We're here to take a stand for God and country. Does feel good, doesn't it?
America's Voice Live starts now.
Welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber. It is Monday, the 2nd of March in the year of our Lord 2026. Let's get into the day's top stories. As always, thank you for joining me here on Real America's Voice. We appreciate it. Under the leadership of President Trump, the United States, alongside Israel, launched a massive attack targeting more than 1,000 military sites across Iran, an Operation Epic Fury. It's still ongoing. I'll discuss that in detail today also. In the wake of Operation Epic Fury and the death of Iran's so-called supreme leader, President Trump is calling on the Iranian people to take back their country and topple the current regime. I'll bring on a former citizen of Iran to discuss that point of the story, and then later, I'll bring on Oscar Ramirez from Puerto Vallarta. It's Mexico for the latest details in the aftermath of the killing of top cartel leader El Mencho and all the chaos that followed. But we want to start here today with Iran. Let's be clear. President Trump didn't start this war, but it looks like he may finally end it after 47 years. But there are costs to ending Iran's reign of terror. U.S. Central Command, known as CENTCOM, is reporting at least 4 American soldiers dead, 18 seriously wounded, and several others with other injuries. This comes as Iran continues its retaliatory strikes across the Middle East in response to that massive Israeli-U.S. strike that has killed the supreme leader of Iran, among dozens of others. Over 1,000 targets successfully hit, according to CENTCOM, including the headquarters for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, command and control centers, ballistic missile sites, air defense systems, and Navy ships and submarines all sunk. Strikes have taken out not only the so-called Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, but also the commander of the IRGC, the defense minister, the chief of staff, and top defense officials and advisors. Again, this is not a war that Trump started. It's one that's been a long time coming, ever since the Iranian regime held more than 50 hostages for 444 days beginning in 1979. 241 American service members were killed shortly thereafter in 1983 when Iran directed Hezbollah to bomb our Marine barracks in Beirut after they bombed the embassy for the United States there. It came months after they bombed that embassy, like I said. They have since kidnapped multiple Americans on numerous occasions. They've plotted to assassinate many of our leaders, including President Trump. They provided arms to various militias to carry out bombings that have killed hundreds of American troops, and they were behind the Hamas attack on October the 7th in Israel. They killed 47 American tourists. As I said, Trump didn't start this war. I sure hope he's able to end it. Iran is responsible for an untold number of deaths through its own arms, in its oppression, in its proxies like Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic militant groups. Hundreds of thousands have died throughout the Middle East. And since the Iranian Revolution in 1979, around 2,000 Americans have died as a result as well. And just this weekend in Austin, Texas, a shooter wearing a shirt saying "Property of Allah" opened fire at a bar. It ended the lives of 3 people and left many others wounded, highlighting the necessity for counterterrorism, whether it be overseas or right here at home. Joining me to discuss all of this is Congressman Gabe Evans of Colorado's 8th Congressional District. Congressman, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
A lot of noise out there. Democrats who have consistently opposed Iran apparently now support the mullahs and the Ayatollah and hands off Iran and that sort of thing. What is your take on this multi-pronged attack, its success so far, and what it means long term?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. You know my background. I spent 12 years in the U.S. Army, another 10 years in law enforcement in the Denver metro area. I've deployed to the Middle East. Part of my mission when I was over there was to counter Iranian aggression. And so with that background, you asked, what do we make of the Democrats who are suddenly opposed to the actions in Iran? Well, I think we saw that at the State of the Union, where the president asked if you believe that the American government should work for Americans and not people here illegally, stand up. The vast majority of the Democrats couldn't stand up for that. We saw very, very closely connected in time to that in the State of the Union. The president said Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And a huge number of Democrats also could not stand up for that. And so that's what we're up against. We're up against this now at this critical juncture because we know how fanatically focused on terrorism Iran is. You rattled off the historical list. A recent event that occurred December of 2025, 3 months ago, Tehran, the capital city of Iran, ran out of water. 10 million people in a desert can't get water in parts of the capital city because the Iranian regime would rather fund terrorism rather than infrastructure for basic needs like water. And in response to the people of Iran protesting, the regime has killed almost 50,000 of them in the last few months. So this is part of why we're intervening now. We have to stop this before Iran continues to export terrorism around the world.
President Trump laid out his objective to destroy missile capabilities, annihilate Iran's Navy, 10 ships sunk so far. No nuclear weapons, no Iranian regime funding, and more. Listen to what he said.
Our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, and their capacity to produce brand new ones, and pretty good ones they make. Second, we're annihilating their Navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships. They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror, nuclear weapon, never going to have a nuclear weapon. I said that from the beginning. They're never going to have a nuclear weapon. They were on the road to getting one legitimately through a deal that was signed foolishly by our country. And finally, we're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside of their borders. And we thought we had a deal, but then they backed out, and they came back. That you can't deal with these people.
Congressman, there's going to be a vote this week, most likely on the War Powers Act, probably not successful, but pushed by Democrats who claim this is illegal. However, they seem to have no problem with Barack Obama dropping 16,000 bombs. I think I counted 15 countries, including taking out the leadership of Libya, for example. It seems hypocritical, to say the least. What say you?
This is absolutely legal. Go back to the 2001 AUMF, Authorization for the Use of Military Force, which laid out that the United States is allowed by an act of Congress to be able to use military force against anyone who participated or lent material aid to the 9/11 attacks in New York and Pennsylvania and all of the other events of September 11th. We know that Iran has lent material support to al-Qaeda and many other terrorist organizations, as you ran through the list, going back to the 80s and for al-Qaeda specifically, the 90s. So military action against Iran has been expressly authorized by Congress in the 2001 AUMF. Additionally, last summer in June of 2025, after the success of Operation Midnight Hammer, which was the first strikes against the Iranian nuclear capabilities, the Senate considered a resolution which would have limited the president's ability under the AUMF to engage in military action against Iran, and that resolution was defeated. So 2 times Congress has spoken, once through the AUMF and then once by declining to carve Iran out of the AUMF. Congress has spoken, and I'm sure Congress will continue to speak this week, as you mentioned with the War Powers Resolution, in being able to show support for our warfighters and show support for a president who is putting America first and who is taking decisive action to make sure that Iran cannot have, as you heard, a nuclear weapon or this vast arsenal of ballistic missiles, which there is no ballistic missile defense shield on the planet that can stop a swarm of 10,000 plus ballistic missiles. And that's the capability that Iran was rapidly reaching. That's why we had to act.
Yes. It's been diminished. Let me give you an example of the Democrats' counter argument, if you will. Kamala Harris, who had this to say as soon as she could find a camera person that she could run to. Listen.
Before I go in, I want to address what we learned today. Donald Trump has dragged us into a war the American people do not want. He has put American troops in harm's way. I unequivocally oppose this war of choice, and everyone should. And the bottom line, when it comes down to it, is that if we want to stop Donald Trump with this random decision that he has arrived at, then Congress must act, and Congress must act immediately.
And there you have it. Congress must act immediately. Look, I think you laid it out perfectly, Congressman. Every president in my lifetime has initiated some sort of military action against others. In fact, we've only declared war 5 times in American history, the last being World War II. We've been involved in military operations, some that lasted 20 years, as we know. And yet here we are with Democrats spewing nonsense. That's all I can take for nonsense. Your thoughts?
Yeah, 2 thoughts for you. I got to the Middle East to a combat zone about a week after Benghazi in 2012. So I know what it looks like when America is led by weak administrations that project weakness around the world. Morale was kind of rough there because if a American ambassador in Libya is expendable under failed Democrat foreign policies, what are they going to do for simple aircrew members like us when we were deployed overseas? By contrast, what we're seeing right now under this administration is bold, decisive action that lets our adversaries around the world know if you cross us, if you harm American interests, if you harm American citizens, if you continue to export terrorism, you will face swift, overwhelming, and immediate American justice. And that actually has a deterrent effect on war. Look at the buildup in the Middle East. This is air power and naval power. This is not a ground forces buildup. So this is unlike other things that we've done before where the United States has tried to rebuild other countries. This isn't going to get us engaged in a long, protracted engagement because we don't have the ground forces built up in the Middle East. This is air power and naval power that is making absolutely clear exactly what the president said. You cannot have a nuclear weapon if you're the global sponsor or leading sponsor of terrorism. You cannot have a ballistic missile program that's producing thousands of ballistic missiles that's going to be a complete and total lethal hazard to any American interests or allied interests in the region, and you cannot export terrorism beyond your borders. So that is what we're doing right now. We are projecting strength, and by projecting that strength, we are actually ensuring that we don't get into longer, broader, and protracted wars like what happened when we had the weakness projected of allowing an American ambassador to be killed in Libya and telling the world that, you know what, that's kind of okay, the United States isn't really going to take decisive action. We are taking decisive action to protect the American people.
Last question. Obviously, the shorter this runs, the better it is for Trump and the Republicans like yourself in the midterms. But if it drags on, it could be problematic politically because the Democrats will try to ratchet it up and use it as a tool in the midterms, as you know. What are your thoughts on that? Last question.
It's already a problem politically because the Democrats, as you know, have the Department of Homeland Security shut down right now. So I would say it is a problem politically, but it's a problem for the Democrats because they are highlighting where their true loyalties lie. The Department of Homeland Security came about after 9/11, after the largest, most deadly terror attack on United States soil, in order to prevent future terrorist attacks. And the Democrats currently have that department shut down. Our Coast Guard is going without pay right now. FLETC, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, basically police academy for federal law enforcement agencies, is shut down right now. TSA is going without pay. CISA, which is our cybersecurity defense force that partners with critical infrastructure like the power grid and water, that's currently going without pay because the Democrats have shut down the Department of Homeland Security because they still are, to their core, the party of open borders. They are the party, as we saw during the State of the Union, of putting other folks first ahead of Americans. And I think that that is something that the American people will not tolerate. The American people want to make sure that our interests are secure and we're protecting the homeland. That is what Republicans are doing.
Congressman, greatly appreciate your time. Of course, we'll continue to have this conversation going forward. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me on.
Right up after the break, as I've been discussing, the U.S. and Israel unleashing a sweeping strike on Iran, hitting more than 1,000 targets. We'll have more on this massive show of force and how it could reshape the region and send a message the world simply cannot ignore. It's coming up.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted,
Seditious conspiracy.
but behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office,
As we've been discussing, the leadership of President Trump and the United States alongside Israel launching a massive attack targeting more than 1,000 sites across Iran using Tomahawk missiles, B-2 stealth bombers, and advanced strike drones targeting missile systems, air key defenses, and key regime infrastructure, among other things. Seems to have been a success thus far. An overwhelming show of American air power sends a clear message. The world's leading state sponsor of terror will no longer operate without consequences, and the safety of Israel and the region will come first, and that of the United States, too. Joining me to discuss Operation Epic Fury, former Congressman, retired Army Colonel, and Executive Director of the American Constitution, Colonel Alan West. Lieutenant Colonel, nice to see you, sir.
Always a pleasure.
Your first impressions. You woke up, you saw this in real time, the same as we all did. What is your take from your vantage point?
Well, it was an inevitability. We gave Iran an exit ramp for a diplomatic solution. They refused to take it. And when you look at the history of Iran, everyone knows 47 years of really being a thorn in the side of the United States of America, killing Americans, targeting Americans. I came on active duty 1 week after the October the 23rd, 1983 Beirut barracks bombing. That was Hezbollah, which is a client of Iran. So I think finally, when people say death to America, President Trump took them serious and said, no, this is about America first. It's about American security first. And he has taken that step to make sure that they do not continue to threaten Americans. And we are peeling back another layer of this new 21st century axis of evil. First Venezuela, now Iran. And I think that's putting a lot of pressure on Russia and China.
States is weary right now, Colonel, with war, it seemed. I'm looking at a lot of different polling numbers. And the support for this action is running in the mid to low 40s with more people opposed than supporting it, which is very different than what we saw before Iraq and Afghanistan that had support running 65 and 70%. Of course, then those wars dragged on, became much less popular. It seems America is weary about war at this point and leery about the possibility of there ever being boots on the ground. I think that's true, but so far this has been a decisive, overwhelming attack, as you mentioned, and it seems to me that, well, if this is short-lived, it might become more popular. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that you see a conditions-based operation. This is not a nation-building operation. Of course, everyone wants to come back around and talk about how this is, another venture of Iraq. I was there in Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I was also in Iraq. I don't see that being this. I don't see a large, massive buildup of ground forces. And I think that these people that are out there being the detractors, maybe they should go and talk to some of the young men and young women who lost their limbs because of the explosive force penetrators in the years that we were there in Iraq, 2003, 2011. I had to deal with Iranian agents that were on the ground when I was there as a battalion commander in 2003. And we know the deadly effect of those explosive force penetrators. So I think that, there comes a time when we have to stand up and say that we're not going to allow Americans to be targeted. We're going to stand up against this sponsor of terrorism. If you want to have peace in Gaza, guess what? You cannot continue to have the exact same people that are supporting Hamas or Hezbollah or Islamic Jihad or Al-Quds, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade. So it's about time that we get serious about this. And the last time we saw something like this happen, Ronald Reagan, if you remember, the Iranians, one of our surface warships hit an Iranian mine. Ronald Reagan responded with a massive naval operation that really degraded the Iranian naval forces, which is, again, the target of this operation.
As we watch some of the footage from the attacks, 4 American servicemen confirmed killed, or women potentially so far. We lost 3 planes to friendly fire from Kuwait. Luckily, those air crews were able to land safely, including a woman pilot. So our men and women are on the front lines there, as we see, Colonel. But as casualties mount, obviously it becomes more problematic, potentially politically speaking, heading into the midterms. Last question to you. How do you think this plays out as we watch this unfold when it comes to the politics of the midterm election?
Well, I would tell you, Kamala Harris and the Democrats, they need to be very careful. We still have not lost as many as they did in the withdrawal operation from Afghanistan, which was a complete and utter debacle. I think that the American people want to make sure that they can have safety and security. This is about messaging. This is about reminding people about what has been going on for the past 47 years, thanks to the Ayatollahs and the mullahs there of Iran. And if you want to, understand how do you deal with an enemy that's willing to kill 30,000 of its own people, you cannot allow this enemy to be in power. And look at the response you see in London and New York and Los Angeles from Americans of Iranian descent who are happy that maybe one day they can have the taste of freedom that we have here in the United States. So I think this is going to be a critical messaging issue. And again, we need to make sure that we degrade their capability and capacity. And as the president said, the Iranian people will decide their future and their future leadership.
Colonel, thank you. As always, terrific insight. Appreciate your comments here today, and we'll talk again soon, I'm sure, sir. Colonel Allen West, thank you very much. Coming up after the break, in the wake of Operation Epic Fury and the death of Iran's supreme leader, President Trump is calling on the Iranian people to take back their country, topple the current regime. Details on that coming up on America's Voice Live.
At Real America's Voice, we love Pastor Jensen Franklin, a faithful servant of the Lord who brings our audience life-changing sermons every Sunday.
God is after a conversation with you.
And now, Jensen has a new book that will impact you too. What if your most effective prayers were not your longest ones? So many believers feel pressure to say more, thinking longer or more eloquent prayers will move the hand of God. But Scripture says otherwise. Throughout the Bible, brief, heartfelt prayers brought breakthrough and divine intervention.
And if I can inspire you to pray, I can inspire you to be like Jesus.
You will discover how even a simple cry like, "Lord, save me," can open heaven's windows.
I really believe it's
going to change your life.
Filled with biblical examples and practical encouragement, this book will help you pray with confidence in every circumstance.
You are missing so much more God has for your life.
Get ready to experience the miracles that come when you pray short, bold prayers filled with power. Scan the QR code now and order your copy today on Amazon.
From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
My name is Phoebe, and I live in Florida. I love Real America's Voice. They truly speak for the people, and that's what real patriotism is all about.
America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Obviously, as we have been discussing since Saturday, Iran is the #1 state sponsor of terrorism around the world, and its leader, who has sanctioned and commanded these acts of terror, is dead, the so-called supreme leader. The Iranian regime still functioning in some capacity, but maybe not for much longer, and we're not even sure who's in charge. President Trump encouraged the people of Iran to stand up to the regime that has oppressed them for the last 47 years. Here's the president.
Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass.
Do not let it pass. Join me to discuss this is the partner of the S3 Group and a former Iranian citizen, Hasti Afkami. Hasti, thank you for being here. First of all, when you first heard that the United States had acted against Iran, had targeted the supreme leader, and had taken out 40 or more of the top commanders, what were your thoughts?
I was thrilled. I was obviously a little scared because bombs dropping on Iran is always scary, but more so I was hopeful, and I was thrilled.
When did you leave Iran? Tell us about what you know inside that country, because you have a lot of people in this country telling us that Donald Trump is doing the wrong thing, that he's fighting Israel's war and other such things. Now we have a complete coalition of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, and all the rest siding with the Americans and the Israelis. But for the people that are saying this is wrong, hands off Iran, what would you tell them?
I would ask them where they were when Khamenei was killing 40,000 people in the streets in a matter of days. Where were they when he killed Neda in 2009? Where were they when he was hanging everyone in the streets without trial, without cause? Where were they when all of these political prisoners were being tortured in Evin? Why do they suddenly care about Iran when for over the last 40 years, people in Iran have been tortured, people in Iran have been humiliated by this regime? Why do they suddenly care about Iranians now? And where was their voice all of these years in the past when Iranians within Iran have been asking for help, when Iranians from within Iran have been bleeding on the streets and dying for freedom? No one was supporting them now. Why all of a sudden do they care when America and Israel are supporting them?
You know, it was remarkable over the weekend. I saw the celebrations, big ones in New York and Los Angeles, Toronto, and across Europe. And I saw Iranians dancing in the streets with Israelis, American flags, the old Iranian flag with a lion, Israeli flags, all flying together. That is certainly a new day, isn't it?
But that's the correct way. Iranian people have nothing against the Israeli people. We are friends. We share a lot in our culture, in the way that we act, our love of family, things like that. That is how it should be. I was speaking to a dear family friend, and he was telling me how before the revolution in the town that he grew up in, you would walk down the street and there'd be a church next to a synagogue, next to a mosque. Everyone lived together in harmony. Everyone supported each other. Everyone was a community. This is how it should be. None of that surprises me as an Iranian American, because that's what our culture is. We've just been held hostage by this horrible regime since 1979, and hopefully we're now finally free of them.
Hopefully the chains have been broken free. It's not clear where we go from here, because this operation a long way from being over. And you've got two competing groups already saying they will step in as an interim government. So it's not clear the path forward, but it's better than it was 72 hours ago. Hasti, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. This year marks a critical moment for our country as the opposition grows more aggressive and unapologetic. The fight now reaches into the everyday decisions we make. Patriot Mobile has been standing on the front lines of freedom for more than 12 years. They don't just deliver top-tier wireless service. They are activists like me who truly care about our country. Patriot Mobile offers prioritized premium access on all three major U.S. networks, giving you the same or better coverage than the main carriers. That means fast speeds and dependable nationwide coverage backed by 100% U.S. backed customer service, that is. They also offer unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, and so much more. With simple, seamless activation, you can switch in minutes. Keep your number, keep your phone, or you can upgrade to something newer and nicer. And here's the difference. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you'll be part of a powerful stream of giving that directly funds the Christian conservative movement. Take a stand today. Go to patriotmobile.com/RAV or call 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code RAV for a free month of service. Don't wait. That's patriotmobile.com/RAV or call 972-PATRIOT. After the break, it seems the situation in Mexico has cooled after the death of Cartel leader El Mencho. I'll bring on Oscar Ramirez next from Puerto Vallarta to discuss and give us the latest. We'll be right back.
At Real America's Voice, we love Pastor Jensen Franklin, a faithful servant of the Lord who brings our audience life-changing sermons every Sunday.
God is after a conversation with you.
And now, Jensen has a new book that will impact you too. What if your most effective prayers were not your longest ones? So many believers feel pressure to say more, thinking longer or more eloquent prayers will move the hand of God. But Scripture says otherwise. Throughout the Bible, brief, heartfelt prayers brought breakthrough and divine intervention.
And if I can inspire you to pray, I can inspire you to be like Jesus.
You will discover how even a simple cry, like, "Lord, save me," can open heaven's windows.
I really believe it's going to change your life.
Filled with biblical examples and practical encouragement, this book will help you pray with confidence in every circumstance.
You are missing so much more God has for your life.
Get ready to experience the miracles that come when you pray short, bold prayers filled with power. Scan the QR code now and order your copy today on Amazon.
From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
My name is Phoebe, and I live in Florida. I love Real America's Voice. They truly speak for the people, and that's what real patriotism is all about.
All right, in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, a large number of American citizens have returned after flight cancellations disrupted travel to that region. Today, the city is also marked by heightened tensions as it hosts the funeral of El Mencho, as is the notorious narco leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. His death at the hands of Mexican security forces alongside United States intel triggered waves of retaliatory violence across Mexico, including arson, road blockades, and attacks on authorities. But it seems the situation is becoming much more stable by the day. Of his funeral, let's find out for sure. Joining me to discuss, Real America's Voice correspondent Oscar El Blue Ramirez from Puerto Vallarta. Oscar, obviously there was a lot of violence in the immediate aftermath of El Mencho's killing. From my understanding, a couple of dozen Mexican National Guards members were killed by the cartels, as were some citizens. I understand about 30 members of the cartel were also killed in the fighting. It was about as close to civil war in some of those areas as I could imagine, but you were there. What are your thoughts?
Well, this is what they were retaliating, Steve, right here. This is evidence of a 50 caliber casing that we found in one of the properties and in one of the 3 safe houses of Nemesio Oseguera. Just to let you know how they were retaliating and how they were ambushed and how he ran to the mountains, and later on he was injured and arrested, and then he died on the helicopter. The aftermath and the collateral damage that we are right here in Puerto Vallarta, it is just incredible. You know, the economy has been greatly affected. Now the things are trying to move on. You know, they're trying to keep the wheels moving. Tourists are trying to come back here again to Puerto Vallarta. Majority Canadian and American, they cancel a lot of the flights. The hotels, the fluency, it is to 40 to 50%. When we're in vacation time, Steve, it is March and April, the fluency, you know, it has to be 100%. A lot of the owners and business owners and restaurants owners, they have said they are just screaming to the president, we need the Secretary of Tourism to come over here and to help us. What happened 8 days ago right here in this epicenter was an act of terror, just terrorizing the citizens. And the most incredible thing is that the ones that they were doing these crimes, the ones that they were burning these automobiles, these businesses, they were 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 years of age, Steve. A lot of them, they were not holding a gun. They were just pulling people out of their vehicles, and they were burning the vehicles on site. They were burning businesses. Extremely concerning places that we went, yesterday. Right here in Vallarta, there was one place that it was a gasoline station, a business in the middle. It's not just to burn the business. It's what they were trying to do, to burn out, the whole gas station and create a massive blow up. Also, there was other businesses like Oxos that they resembled to 7-Elevens. On top, there were condominiums, people, American citizens living there. The huge concern was the whole intention of what to do. It was not to burn just vehicles and businesses. It was to harm civilians.
Yeah, it's frightening. And this, obviously, as you pointed out, is going to impact the tourist industry, which places like Puerto Vallarta rely on for American money to flow in, or Canadian money, or people from all over the world. If that money, if you're telling me they're at half occupancy, they're cutting the money in half, this is going to be a problem for the people there. So it comes back to a question that I've asked before, but I ask again now. Who runs Mexico? The major drug cartels or Claudia Sheinbaum?
At this particular moment, there is a huge collaboration between the Trump administration and also with the federal government of Mexico to attack these criminal organizations. Now that the Trump administration has pressured the Sheinbaum administration, not only with the 25% tariff, but also exposing political figures and 50 politicians that they were in cahoots with the organized crime and the cartel, has pushed the Mexican government to act. And inevitably, they have been doing. They have dismantled more than 1,200 laboratories, delivered more than 50-plus leaders of criminal organizations, and now they have executed, and mentioned, with collaboration of intelligence by the American government. It seems that, Claudia Sheinbaum, it is pinned to the wall because of the level of extraction of information, Steve. I have said this before. Nobody in history of the United States of America has had the power of extraction of information, of intelligence, of narco-terrorists like they have right now. They have El Chapo, they have El Mayo, they have Nicolas Maduro, and now they executed El Mencho. It's not a perfect execution because we lost, the Mexican people lost more than 25 soldiers, on this battle that it was on the ground. But it can tell you that, they're trying to do something because of the level of pressure that they're receiving by the Trump administration and the American administration at this point.
What do you think has to happen next? Because Donald Trump continues to offer American help in a much more serious way. I mean, he's offered military assistance. Sheinbaum says absolutely not. But as you see scenes like this roll out, if it happens again, I don't know that she has much choice. Either Mexico becomes a failed narco state or you eradicate the cartels. I don't see a middle ground. Oscar, last word to you.
Well, the Trump administration, it is doing something that has never been done. They're pressuring the Mexican government, and they're actually exercising with Marco Rubio, the head of the state, with officials of Mexico to collaborate with intelligence. And that is actually happening. Now, there is a huge problem, and it is the interference and the trafficking of massive artillery from different countries, and specifically from Arizona and Texas and the states to Mexico. That is another thing that they're negotiating and how to stop that. And, one of the things that was a big hit, Steve, we cannot take away, the execution and also just this execution that they did against Nemesio Ceguera El Mencho. Hopefully they will collaborate more, and hopefully there will be more collaboration to execute this and to digest this, so you will not have a new leader of this criminal organization to continue to terrorize not only the Mexican citizens, but U.S. citizens across the border.
Oscar, will keep you on speed dial because you've got your finger on the pulse of everything from there south, and we appreciate it. Be safe, my friend.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Listen up, real Americans. If you're looking for a boost in both energy and focus, check out Go Pills, the high-performance supplement originally developed for military use and trusted by tactical professionals. Now, hardworking Americans can get the same energy and cognitive support, plus a portion of every purchase goes to military-related charities. Right now, go to GoPills.com and use the promo code RealAmerica for 15% off. That's GoPills.com, promo code RealAmerica. Let's take a closer look as we go into break.
The world doesn't slow down because you're tired. and weakness gets exposed. That's why the best take Go Pills. Born for military performance, built for high-pressure days when your brain has to move faster than the chaos. This is neurotransmitter support, helping your mind fire clean signals so you can process data fast, decide fast, and stay locked in when it matters. Packed with clinically supported ingredients designed to boost cognitive performance so you stay sharp under pressure. The most badass military in the world uses this kind of energy every day. Now you can too. From training to eliminate America's enemies to smoke-checking terrorists, Go Pills keep the mission fueled. Real world tested by high-level tactical communities. Now available to you. Greenlight the beast inside. Pop a Go Pill. Scan the QR code or go to gopills.com and use promo code REALAmerica for 15% off.
At Real America's Voice, we love Pastor Jensen Franklin, a faithful servant of the Lord who brings our audience life-changing sermons every Sunday.
God is after a conversation with you.
And now, Jensen has a new book that will impact you too. What if your most effective prayers were not your longest ones? So many believers feel pressure to say more, thinking longer or more eloquent prayers will move the hand of God. But Scripture says otherwise. Throughout the Bible, brief, heartfelt prayers brought breakthrough and divine intervention.
And if I can inspire you to pray, I can inspire you to be like Jesus.
You will discover how even a simple cry, like, "Lord, save me," can open heaven's windows.
I really believe it's going to change your life.
Filled with biblical examples and practical encouragement, this book will help you pray with confidence in every circumstance.
You are missing so much more God has for your life.
Get ready to experience the miracles that come when you pray short, bold prayers filled with power. Scan the QR code now and order your copy today on Amazon.
From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
My name is Phoebe, and I live in Florida. I love Real America's Voice. They truly speak for the people, and that's what real patriotism is all about.
All right, Secretary of State Marco Rubio just wrapped up a meeting with a gang of 8, updating them on Iran. He has stepped to the microphone. Let's listen.
That's run by radical clerics. The Ayatollah was a radical cleric. That entire regime is led by radical clerics who don't make geopolitical decisions. They make decisions on the basis of theology, their view of theology, which is an apocalyptic one. That has to be taken very seriously as well. So that was the purpose for what this operation is all about. That's what it's focused on. As the President said earlier today, it is on or ahead of schedule. I will defer to the Department of War to discuss the progress being made at a tactical level, but it was the right decision and an important decision for the safety.
All right, Marco Rubio, a little bit of a technical issue there. We'll get back to him if we can. Now, as we turn the page from winter to spring, many Americans are thinking about fresh starts, not just for their homes, but for their health. From trendy spring cleanses to growing conversations about parasites and treatments like ivermectin, questions are swirling about what's effective, what's safe, and what really works. Today, we're breaking down the facts behind spring cleanses, parasite concerns, and what you need to know before considering any treatment. As the calendar moves from February to March, what do you want me to do?
Capitol Hill about how we knew that this was going to happen, and we didn't act preemptively to prevent more casualties and more loss of life.
Was forced to strike because of an impending Israeli action?
No, let me two things I would say. Number one is, no matter what, ultimately this operation needed to happen. That's the question of why now. But this operation needed to happen because Iran in about a year or a year and a half would cross the line of immunity, meaning they would have so many short-range missiles, so many drones, that no one could do anything about it because they could hold the whole world hostage. Look at the damage they're doing now. And this is a weakened Iran. Imagine a year from now. So that had to happen. Obviously, we were aware of Israeli intentions and understood what that would mean for us, and we had to be prepared to act as a result of it. But this had to happen no matter what.
President Trump said overnight that his top choices to now run Iran were killed in the strikes. Does the United States have a firm plan for how they intend to handle this power vacuum in Iran to ensure that an Iranian hardliner does not take power?
So two things, and two things can be true. Number one is our mission and our focus is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities and their ability to manufacture them, as well as the threat posed by their Navy to global shipping. That's our objective. That said, we would not mind, we would not be heartbroken, and we hope that the Iranian people can overthrow this government and establish a new future for that country. We would love for that to be possible. But the objective of this mission is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities and of their naval capabilities.
So are you saying, based on that, are you saying that there is no responsibility, no plan for the U.S. to at least play a role in whatever government comes next?
We might. We'll see how circumstances play out. But I'm telling you what the objectives of this operation are. The objectives of this operation are to destroy their ballistic missile capability and make sure they can't rebuild it, and make sure that they can't hide behind that to have a nuclear program. That's the objective of the mission. That said, abundantly clear, we would love for there to be an Iran that's not governed by radical Shia clerics. As I've said myself repeatedly for years, the leadership of that country does not reflect the people of Iran, and I think that's been pretty apparent in the protests that you've seen. If there's something we can do to help them down the road, we'd obviously be open to it, but that's not the objective. The objective of this mission is the destruction of their ballistic missile capability.
Regime change has not gone well for the United States.
The what now?
Regime change has not gone well for the United States for many, many decades. How do you assure the American public that things will not get worse for the next regime that comes in there and replaces the Ayatollah?
We would love to see this regime be replaced. And ultimately, as the president has said, he calls... No, but let me finish my answer. As the president has said, he would love for the people of Iran to use this as an opportunity to rise up and remove these leaders. They've been wanting to remove them from a long time. We've seen successive waves of protests, and we've seen them slaughter people. Okay? But the objective of this mission is to make sure they don't have these weapons that can threaten us and our allies in the region. That's why we're doing what we're doing now. And while we would love to see a new regime, the bottom line is no matter who governs that country a year from now, they're not going to have these ballistic missiles and they're not going to have these drones to threaten us. That's the objective of this mission, is to deny them the ability to use ballistic missiles to threaten their neighbors, to threaten our bases, to threaten our presence in the region, and ultimately as a shield behind which they can do whatever they want with their nuclear weapons ambition. We were not going to let them hide behind that, and that's why this was such a critical mission to undertake now while they were at their weakest point, and not a year from now where they could inflict even more damage and perhaps already be behind that point of immunity. Go right here behind. Go ahead, you and then you. Yes.
Your critics in Congress have said that they should have a role, they should be able to weigh in here, and there are going to be war powers resolutions votes in Congress later this week. Why not notify Congress ahead of this, and does Congress have a role not to play?
We notified Congress. I mean, we notified the Gang of Eight. We notified congressional leadership. There's no law that requires us to do that. The law says we have to notify them 48 hours after beginning hostilities. We've done that. I think the notification went today. But we did notify members of Congress in advance. But we can't notify 535 members of Congress.
And authorize the war.
Well, the Congress can vote on whatever they want, but there's no law that requires us to do that. And I want to say something, because I see people on TV. Look, that's fine. If they want to take a war powers vote, they can do that. They've done that. They've done that a bunch of times. But people keep saying that there's no law that requires the president to have done anything with regards to this. To begin with, no presidential administration has ever accepted the War Powers Act as constitutional. Not Republican presidents, not Democratic presidents. That said, we have followed the notification at 48 hours. We're here today. I've done more Gang of Eight briefings than I got in the 4 years that Biden was president and I was a member of the Gang of Eight. All of that said, we've complied with the law 100%. and we're going to continue to comply with it. We've done the notification, and we officially to Congress, but we did notify members of Congress. We just can't notify 535 people. That's not possible, but we did the Gang of 8 twice. I briefed them last week, and then I called them the night before the operation.
Can you tell us what you know, Mr. Secretary, of the administration knows about the strike on a building in southern Iran that the Iranians are saying was a school, reports of large civilians, including children killed?
Yeah, I've seen those reports. I don't have. I would refer you, not because I'm not trying to answer your question, but I don't want to get it wrong. The Department of War would be investigating that if that was our strike, and I would refer your question to them, and I'll make sure they're aware that you have that question. But we'd like to know. Well, clearly, the United States would not deliberately target a school. Our objectives are missiles, both the ability to manufacture them and the ability to launch them, and the one-way attract drones. That would be our focus, and that's what we would be focused on. We would have no interest and, frankly, no incentive to target civilian infrastructure. The Iranians are, on the other hand, targeting civilian infrastructure. You guys have seen it. I'm sure you've seen it. They're hitting hotels. They're hitting embassies. They're hitting airports. They're hitting oil infrastructure. Well, it'd be very tragic, but I can't speak to the details behind it because I just don't have it. It would be a tragic outcome if it's happened. I don't have the details as to what led to it. But what is clear is that the United States would not deliberately target a school. They are, on the other hand, deliberately targeting civilians, as you've seen, because you know why? They are a terroristic regime. They sponsor terrorism and they participate in terrorism.
What's your message to Americans who are concerned about rising energy prices given the spiking of oil prices?
Yes, and we knew that going in would be a factor, and so we have a program in place that will begin to be implemented by Secretary Wright, Secretary Bessent. We talked about it last night, again, about this program. We talked this morning, and starting tomorrow, you will see us rolling out those phases to try to mitigate against that. Obviously, markets are going to be reacting to news about what's happening. And again, a reminder, think about it, okay? This terroristic regime, led by radical clerics, has the ability, potentially, to shut off 20% of global energy. That's the kind of leverage they have because of their Navy. We're going to destroy their Navy. But there is a plan in place. We anticipated this could be an issue, and Secretary Wright and Bessent will begin to roll out those steps starting tomorrow to mitigate against the impact that could have. I've got to do this briefing, so I got a couple more. Yeah.
Do you anticipate putting boots on the ground, and how long do you anticipate the conflict to last?
Well, we don't. Let me say two things about it. Number one, the president always has the options to undertake whatever operations he decides to do as the commander-in-chief. That said, we believe the objective that we have set for this mission, which is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities, both launch capability and manufacturing, can be achieved without ground forces. Right now, we're not postured for ground forces, but obviously the president has those options. He's never going to rule out anything. But right now, our focus is on the destruction of their ballistic missile launchers, their ballistic missile stockpiles, and their ballistic missile manufacturing capability, as well as their one-way attract drones and their Navy, because of the threat it poses to global shipping.
How long
I can only do one more. Right there in the middle. Yes, sir.
Is there a diplomatic exchange going on right now between the U.S. and Iran? Any exchanges whatsoever outside of
No, not at this time. I mean, look, we always have people that reach out from inside of governments. You don't know if they're authorized to reach out or not. They're suffering a tremendous amount of damage. Honestly, again, I'm not going to give away the details of our tactical efforts, but the hardest hits are yet to come from the U.S. military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now. Someone was screaming, how long will it take? I don't know how long it'll take. We have objectives. We will do this as long as it takes to achieve those objectives, and we will achieve those objectives. The world will be a safer place when we're done with this operation. All right? Thank you, guys. Thank you.
There you have Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. He just met with the Gang of 8 that they met with prior to the attacks on Iran, which is incredibly important. They notified Congress. That's what they're supposed to do. He addressed that in the questions there. He just met with them again to give them an update on the status of the ongoing hostilities there in Iran and the latest information. We have 4 Americans killed so far, but so far the Iranian response has been scattered at best. We'll keep you updated, of course. Here's your question of the day here on America's Voice Live. What are your thoughts on President Trump launching Operation Epic Fury against the Iranian regime and taking out its military targets as well? Russ Owell, for decades, American presidents have kicked the Iran can down the road. Trump is not a can kicker. Trump has the foresight to see the danger Iran poses and the courage to do something about it. I am the Wolfman writes, promises made, promises kept, making the world safer for everyone. This is one of the many reasons the United States citizens elected Trump 3 times in a row. Monica Schwartz, I trust President Trump. Our country is safer because of his love for we, the people. Seamus Man writes this, anytime we degrade the ability of the evil cult, we buy time to keep more people alive. DJT knows what he's doing, and I'm behind him 100%. I look forward to the continuing exercise by our great military. John Hogan shares this, Iran being the single largest terrorist sponsor in the world makes this worth it to not only the U.S., but the entire world. Yes. Of course, we've had continuing coverage here since Saturday morning. It's been a busy time at Real America's Voice. Our coverage will continue as we see Iran trying to hit places like Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and elsewhere. But I caution you again, be careful what you see or read on social media. Many of those folks are just trying to get you to click on it. A lot of fake information running around out there, fake news, if you will. So be careful who you trust. You can trust us here at Real America's Voice. We'll dig deeper. We'll ask questions. We won't just settle for what we read on social media, and neither should you. Find the facts. You can find them right here. And we will continue our ongoing coverage of the attacks on Iran throughout the rest of the day and as long as it takes. Remember to join me tomorrow morning for your first update on everything going on in the world. The Steve Gruber Show kicks off Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. here on Real America's Voice. Follow me on all the social media platforms, especially YouTube.